Thank you for being here. We want to talk about the current developments in legal tech in Germany and Europe, maybe worldwide. Today we have about 30 minutes. And may I ask you, Kaisa, to start first, and maybe you can introduce yourself briefly, tell me and the audience something about Contract Mill, your company that you've started about 3 years ago, I think.
Yes, thank you. Hi, guten Tag, everybody. So I'm Kaisa. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Contract Mill. It's a Finnish startup, 3 years ago started, as you said. And we have created a software as a service product for lawyers so that they can automate their own document creation. Mm-hmm. And from my background, I'm a lawyer myself, or sometimes I refer it as a recovering lawyer. I do like it a lot, like the legal work, but there was a lot of manual work that made sometimes the work a bit not so fun. But most importantly, manual work was not scalable. Mm-hmm. So me and my co-founder, Hannele, started the company with the intention to create something that also companies who typically necessarily don't have the resources and skills to take legal tech products into use can do that.
Thank you very much. Zoe, maybe you can connect to that and also briefly introduce you so that the audience know who is standing here, and also please introduce LECARE, the company that I think you took over from your father and has been in the market for incredible 30 years.
Yes, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Zoë Andreae, I'm from Hamburg, Germany, and as you said, I took over our family business, LECARE, a bit more than 2 years ago, and we've been in the market since the 80s, so we're kind of a legal tech pioneer, if you want to say so. The word legal tech didn't really exist then. And we started with software for law firms. We were the first Windows solution for law firms, and then sold the company to DATEV, which is a big tech provider in Germany, and refocused on legal departments, so companies in their in-house legal departments. I myself, I'm not a lawyer. I have a business background, but wrote my thesis, my master's thesis about legal tech, and then took over the company and was also named Woman of Legal Tech last year by Hogan & Lovells.
Congratulations. Yes. Thank you. So we have discussed earlier a little bit that the public view on legal tech is that legal was kind of the last walled garden, not to be touched by digitalization. So now we see a lot of disruption in the markets, and I did some research. I looked up at Legal Tech Germany, and they speak about almost 200 companies in the legal tech field over 55 cities in Germany. They, I think, name 12 different categories for legal tech businesses and ideas and companies, solutions, and the variety of companies is very broad, from very young startups to 30-year-old pioneers. So, Zoe, maybe you can tell me a little bit about the key challenges of LECARE at the moment. How do you disrupt yourself? Like, what is there? What's the next step for you and your company?
Yes, sure. So as you said, there are many categories in legal tech, and I would say our company, LECARE, has a more fundamental approach to legal tech. So we provide matter management, case management, also contract management, but not contract automation, but rather the digital transformation foundation for companies to digitalize and not have a paper file, which is still very present in companies. And a big challenge for us is obviously that in many companies, not only in the legal department, but also in law firms, there are a lot of different solutions, as you said, 12 different categories, and they're all organized in silos. So none of the tools talk to each other. You have a tool for this, a tool for that, and then they have our management system if they're really advanced. However, they're not very well integrated. So something I'm working on is to improve this integration and to be more customer-centric for our customers, to provide an integrated solution so that they can manage all their documents and data and deadlines and everything around their legal matters, but at the same time use all these new legal tech tools which have automation, even artificial intelligence, or use blockchain technology. There is a lot going on, and use that in a seamless way. So this is something I'm working on at the moment. I do a lot of business development, and as you say, I try to disrupt myself before someone else thinks about it, and yeah, that's been very exciting for us as a company.
Can you give a specific example for like a specific tool that you provide for your customers that you think this integration topic is necessary in order to like further use it?
Definitely. So our software is very broad. We have a lot of different modules because, I mean, we're quite old. We had a lot of time to develop it. But at the same time, there are a lot of different legal tech startups which focus on one single field and do that exceptionally well in a more modern way. So one example could be Contract Mill. However, we haven't known each other that long. Another example we are working closely with is BusyLamp, which is a legal spend provider. We also have a legal spend module, but for us it's just one of the features, and their product is much more advanced, much more customer-centric. So we're now building an integration so that our customers can have an even better legal spend module, which for our legal department is essential to see how many legal costs they incur, and also to be able to negotiate better with law firms about the terms and conditions. Okay. So that is one example of how you can integrate that in a better way.
Thank you, Zoe. And with the law firms, we'll get back to that later. Kaisa, maybe you can also tell us a little bit about this automated contract generation, because I think that's what Contract Mill is focusing on, and especially for me as being a lawyer, working on contracts every day, highly individualized contracts. I want to know, what is the range of contracts that you focus or look at with your company? Like, where do you think is room for development, and where do you think maybe too highly individualized contracts are kind of out of the reach of the current status of the technology?
All right, maybe kind of a short word for the audience also explaining what the document automation is.
Please.
It means that, I mean, what lawyers do, lawyers produce documents all over the world. That's what lawyers do. And generally, they do it manually. It's like the biggest innovation within the last 100 years was introduction of email, some years ago. So how we still have been working is that if you have a new case, you might have a template, you take the old template, start copy-pasting, finding, looking for the previous cases, manually customizing the document. Well, that's of course not scalable work. It cries for automation. Now your question, and then what is the end product? So with our product, anybody can take their own documents and create automated versions of them, so that next time when you or the junior associate or in an in-house legal department, maybe the junior or the other one, or the business person needs to do again a new one, instead of trying to modify it by hand, you just answer a set of questions, including instructions, everything. And voila, in a couple of minutes, you have customized version just the way you wanted it. And how far you can take this? Well, it really depends on the document. So we have documents that you can automate to 100%, hands down, no problem. And they should be. There's no reason why to do things in an old-fashioned way there. Those documents which are highly individualized, I mean, from example from my past, I was the corporate lawyer, and we had a cooperation situation with a partner, and there was no precedence to that one. And I was asked to draft a contract on it. So yes, there was a big part that I just created on the fly, but if you look at those still agreements, there's still certain boilerplate text that you customize or don't customize around it. So I would say that even the very individualized have a large amount that you can automate. And then if you go really in the future, it will be possible also to draft claims to the court and these kind of papers, and software is developing also there, but it's not yet today here, but will be.
So do you have like a sweet spot with respect to automated contract generation? Do you say it's much more, or it's easier for you and your company to automate the contract process in a specific field, like maybe IP, IT, or data protection, versus, for example, M&A, where I come from, where I always start, I want to try to understand, like, how will you automate these like specific first-time cases overall, but maybe in different areas it's it's a different situation.
Sure. What I tell to our customers usually is to look for the low-hanging fruit. What are the documents that you most often generate? And then start automating. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be 100%. If you can already cut down time of like 50%, automating a part of it, it's already great. And then you can find certain patterns, what documents are being automated first, and typically employment-related matters, DPAs for sure, who loves GDPR and all those generating all those documents, and the clients especially, they would love to have them automated.
Okay. So we have talked about the different categories of legal tech, and just to summarize, so we have this document administration field, we have this contract generation area, we have heard a lot about new platforms connecting legal service providers with customers. So Zoe, can you give us an insight on how your company and your services, like your software services, work with respect to your clients and their clients? Like, I think you told me it's like a B2B concept, but also B2B2C or B2B2L lawyer concept?
Definitely, yeah. So when you think about our customers, it's like big companies, small companies of any kind of sector, any kind of company that has at least one legal individual in the company. And it's the legal department. So the legal department manages all the internal matters. They have internal mandates, internal clients, which could be the sales department or IT, etc. And then you have external customers, which is the customer of that specific companies, where you have terms and conditions, etc., which the legal department prepares. And then the legal department, most oftenly, if they can afford it, work with law firms for external counsel. So there are a lot of different relationships which they manage, and the workflows they have to manage. And we basically help our customers digitalize all these processes in the first stage. So just to manage everything in a digital way, in a central way, that all the employees, all the colleagues of the legal department have access to the same documents, the same files, the same data, which is really not the case in many companies. If you imagine it's a paper file that is in Munich and the colleague sits in Hamburg, they send the paper file to Hamburg. That's the status quo in many companies. So integrating your services, for example, with our services, enables legal departments, but also law firms, which they have similar products like ours for law firms, to do that more efficiently and save time, be more accurate, have transparency, and also to save costs. So there are a lot of business advantages behind employing legal tech solutions in the legal department. And as you mentioned earlier, the legal area, the legal space has been really, untouched by digital transformation, by disruption, and for them it's a bit of a surprise that suddenly they're also involved. And there's still a lot of resistance, obviously, and a lot of non-understanding why that should be relevant now. But you know, the market is waking up and learning. It's being educated, and the interest is being good, but it depends on the solution. If you're enabling them and helping them and making their life easier, they like it. If you try to disrupt them and eliminate the lawyer as per se, obviously the response is a bit different.
Okay.
So, yeah, it depends.
So I would like to connect to that directly. So being a lawyer, being with a big law firm, we of course also have tried legal tech services, especially our real estate team has tried to use digitalized software, for example, to scale the process of a due diligence, having to scan, let's say, 500 lease contracts. They all kind of look the same, and you just need to put them somehow in a table to just fill them into your DD report. And unfortunately, we have just now come to stop to use such a program again, because it was just not like good enough in terms of there were too many random, maybe small, but random mistakes that then made it affordable for us to go through all of the contracts again, like manually with our assistant lawyers. So I would really like to know how can you convince a lawyer or a law firm like myself or like another big law firm to keep on trying, because it costs us also, of course, a lot of effort, a lot of money. Yeah. And I would also like to know, or let's say it this way, I see the high potential and the necessity of document digitalization, so of course we use it as well, but I find it very hard to see the connection between like you really generating legal results that are customized for our clients and just the administrational work.
Definitely. I think you can also say a lot about that, about the convincing of the product and the errors that still exist in the beginning. I mean, all these tools, they're quite new, so they don't have a big data base, literally, like a data set from which they learn. And if you think about law firms as a customer, they don't want to share their data with anyone else. They only want to have it in-house, on-premise, not in the cloud. That is a huge topic for us also. And so the algorithms, they can't learn as quickly as if everyone would learn on the same database foundation. And I think that is a big issue. However, lawyers don't really see that as an argument. I mean, they understand it, but for them, that is not the convincing point. I think lawyers, they expect the solutions to be 100% perfect already.
Yes.
But at the same time, they don't even have any other tools at all. So they do everything manually. So they want to jump from nothing to 100%. And that is obviously not very realistic. So I think there's a big educational effort that has to be underdone to convince law firms or lawyers, single lawyers, to start using the software and to just see, as you said, an incremental improvement, to say you don't have to use 100% of your time anymore to go through all these contracts, but only, let's say, 80%. So you save even 20%, and I would say that is already quite good enough, even though there are still errors. And the effort you have to put in to go through the contracts again is much less than if you would start from scratch. So I think you have to emphasize that and not look for 100%. There will be maybe 99% someday, but I mean, that's also something good for you. The lawyers won't be eliminated that quickly. I think you should focus on that. But yeah, maybe you can add to this how you convince your customers.
Well, I think the best convincer is the customer of the law firm. Because I used to be the customer to numerous law firms internationally, and so I know also that side, how it feels like to purchase services, and what goes in the customer's head. The thing is that now in-house legal departments and corporations are increasingly taking tech into their own operations, and I believe that that will also catalyze the change within the law firms when the in-house as well, are you still doing everything manually? Do I pay for it? So I think that is something that the law firms also listen to. They listen to the customers, and I really, everybody says they listen, but I think what I also see that the successful law firms, they really use the kind of a design principles in their thinking, they empathizing, going and understanding the customer's life. It's wrong to ask the customer, what should we do? Because you know, in-house is chronically busy. They don't have the time to think what the law firm should do. But if you have a close relationship, you come, you know, sit down, see for a day how the things go. What ends up to the law firm table is the tip of the iceberg. There's huge unmet demand of legal support and services within the industry that is not visible to the law firms. And the ones who understand this, and also understand that not necessarily talk to the lawyers only, but the business owners, then you get to see the whole opportunity out there, which is much bigger than the current market. But you have to find the right models and ways to serve those needs with the help of tech.
Absolutely. So would you say that contract mill will then change, like in-house counsels, companies' legal lives first?
Absolutely.
Before you end up, you know, being introduced to bigger law firms?
We serve both, and we get interest from both directions, which is nice. Plus accounting firms, auditing companies, and I think it's just great. It depends a little bit also on the geographical market, how far you are in what. But generally, it's safe to say that, for example, in US, you have the legal operations starting and really kind of also cooperating. How can we improve our, you know, procurement and so on? So I think it's a two-way street, and it goes hand in hand.
So what would you say, both of you, because I only see most of the German market and the German colleagues and of course the German law system. If you look a little bit further, if you look, you know, into the European space, maybe you can say something on like where are your companies active, and are you looking? I just heard you came back from Moscow yesterday, so maybe Zoë, you can tell us a little bit about the international developments and your partnerships that you are building?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very important to connect within the European ecosystem. Our company historically is based strongly in Germany, but also Switzerland, Austria, then Benelux, and we have a few very international customers. However, within Europe, I think it's very important to connect. So I travel a lot to London. There are big conferences there. I went to the Legal Geek, Legal Design Geek. Then there was the CLOC, Corporate Legal Operations Consortium Conference. And I went to Helsinki, actually, to the Legal Design Conference. And just now we were with a delegation from German legal tech companies in Moscow to explore the Moscow legal space, legal tech space. And I think it's very important to connect and to see the similar projects everyone is working on. So document automation is a very big topic, document extraction, something you would use in your real estate area, then obviously the management of all these documents, the integration of the services. And I think it's very interesting to see how the different ecosystems start to connect slowly and how this whole topic of legal tech is growing. There's a global organization called Legal Hackers, and we founded a chapter in Hamburg actually, but there's also one in Moscow, in Lisbon, in London for sure, and that's how you can connect with the different systems. And I think that's very important because there's a lot of learning going on among those. And I would say, for example, the German market is very specific. Our law system is very specific. So for British companies, for example, they don't really see Germany as the first immediate market because it's a bit more complicated for them to understand. They would rather go to the US. And for us, it's very interesting to also see the competitive landscape, okay? Who's moving where, etc. And then also, I have a few connections to the Israeli ecosystem. And there's also the question, are they going to go to Europe or are they going to go to the US? And the US, as a huge market, itself is already way more ahead. But still, in Europe, there are a lot of very innovative solutions being developed, which also focus on the US market. But the US market, again, is very different. They have a lot of e-discovery, which we in Germany at least don't really need. So it's very interesting to see how the different ecosystems develop, but start to interact more strongly, increasingly.
What do you think about that, Kaisa?
Well, we see traction from all over the world. I have got demo requests from Mexico to Australia, and obviously Europe, US, even Nigeria is probably the most exotic place. So what I see is that the problem is global. If you think about the markets of law firms, only 1% to 2% of all the law firms out there are the biggest ones who have currently and have had access to powerful legal tech solutions. And where I see the disruption coming and being, what means disruption means that something that has been available for only a few will become available for many. And that means also the small and medium-sized companies. And that is something where we don't provide any content, obviously, but we provide this power of document automation for also the smaller and the medium-sized companies with the superior UI UX that makes it easy to implement without huge IT resources and capabilities and so on. And therefore, I see that the problem is global, and so is the solution, as you can put any language documents inside and so on. So as Contract Mill, we want to be part of enabling the disruption, that people also, those people that our customers serve will get access to justice, access to knowledge that they have had the possibility before.
If I can add to that, I think the word you just mentioned, access to justice, is a very important factor, not only for companies, but also for the end consumer. I mean, there are a lot of legal platforms being established, as you mentioned in the beginning, that provide legal services to end consumers, which never existed before. There are platforms where, first of all, you can get your rights back if you had a flight cancellation, etc. That's a very prominent example, but that didn't exist before. Nobody went to a lawyer to claim, or had a 2-hour delay, I deserve to get 250 euros. Nobody did that. So this huge new market of non-consumption, which was before non-consumption, is now being established. And I think that is also a very interesting thing, which many, like the media in general, not the legal space, is also getting more and more aware of. Not necessarily like the specific legal tech products, but the consumer-facing ones. And I think having that also has a big impact on the business model of small law firms, because trying to charge by the hour in 10 years, I don't think that will be possible anymore. And also for law firms, for small law firms, but also for big ones, not implementing legal tech or any kind of technology will be a big disadvantage. And they have to reconsider how they sell their business, what their business model is. And the driver, as you mentioned, the legal departments, like looking at the business side again, they will drive this change because they will say, I'm not prepared to pay this rate anymore. I know there are products and technologies that can make this so much more efficient and also more accurate. I'm not going to pay anymore. So there's this pressure from the business side, but also in the consumer market where new mandates are created, which will drive the change, I hope.
But it's also good for the law firms
I
because
agree,
it means you can scale your business.
Yeah.
So if you sell 1 hour of your time, you can sell 1 hour of your time. With the help of tech, you can produce and sell 3 hours worth of work within 1 hour.
Yeah.
And even if you drop a little bit the price or give it something even for free for your customers to just, make them happy. I was the one before, so I have, strong feelings about this, how innovative companies are increasing their business. So that still is good business. So law firms should not be worried because this is an opportunity out there. And there's a lot of unmet market demand that everybody who wants to have a lawyer knows about.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this summary. And indeed, you would not have guessed, but of course, the hourly fees, like how to bill with our clients, it's a constant discussion within law firms. And we are thinking of new ways, like how to structure ourselves, how to generate new products, like, capped fee packages of like building up a startup or like managing an IT related topic. But for us, indeed, it's very hard to estimate in advance how much time consuming will the case be. And of course, as a lawyer, we don't really like to rely on only the software. We kind of, because we are liable for whatever we produce. And so the experience in the past, at least at some parts, has been that the software is not as good, so you kind of double check, and then at the beginning maybe you need the same amount of time or more effort. And then of course, I mean, if I can do the same amount of work in half of the time, I will only earn half of the money. That is a problem, like from our perspective, obviously. And so maybe my last question for today is, what do you think, besides, or maybe specifically the fee topic for lawyers, what do lawyers need to do, law firms, in order to be successful within the next 10 years?
I would say they have to reinvent their business model and change their value proposition, not only be a legal service provider, but provide legal services as packages or in different ways, and also charge in a different way, be more customer-centric. Look at your mandate, what does he actually need and want, and make the value creation process a bit more transparent, and communicate more with the customer. But I think also in terms of what you said, we can't estimate how much effort we need, maybe introduce a bit more analytics in your companies, in your law firms, and see, oh, well, we had similar cases before, let's look, how long did we actually take? Which resources did we need, etc. Because that is something many companies are doing in other areas since a long time, and which is basically a normal project management approach combined with analytics. And I think if you employ these things, you can be an industry leader in the law firm segment if you have such innovative product offerings that are customer-centric. And you can reduce prices but increase volume, and then in the end be more successful or be eliminated by others who do it instead.
You won't guess, but we actually do have, of course, these kind of softwares already, so we do relate to prior cases, but indeed, maybe it's just the corporate M&A venture capital world where I'm introduced into, that often these estimations don't eventually work out. But thank you very much. Maybe let me just read one quote. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, but always underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Very smart man, Bill Gates, said that. So thank you very much for being with us. And all of us will be in the speakers area after this panel discussion. So from the audience, if there are any questions, if you'd like to meet up just now to place some more challenges on lawyers or legal tech, then you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Should we take it?